Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 2022 Ignition Accelerator information session. I'm Rebecca Pham, and I'm the Manager of Programs and Operations at Launchpad. We want to keep today really casual, open, and interactive, so please turn your cameras on. We're also recording the session as well, so don't worry about that. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. A little bit of housekeeping. We want to keep it interactive. So, if you have any questions throughout the session, just pop it into the chat. We'll have plenty of time towards the end for Q&A. But in the meantime, please stay on mute just so we can get through everything we want to take. A quick run through of how we're going to run the session today. I'm going to do a very quick welcome and just introduction to Launchpad and who we are. And then introduce you to our team members to share a little bit about the program. And you're also going to hear a lot from the alumni that have just gone through our current accelerator. So just a bit of an introduction. Launchpad was established in 2015 as a technology business incubator out of Western Sydney University. We run 2 incubator spaces out of Warrington and Parramatta, and soon a third in Bankstown. We've actually just recently moved into our new home in Parramatta, so we're really excited about that. As a university incubator, we're also open to the community. So that's actually something that makes us quite unique in the sense that we don't limit our support and engagement to just those that are part of the university. You don't need to be students, staff, or alumni to get involved. The accelerator programs are open for anyone in the community. A large part of why we do that is we have a very strong focus on building an ecosystem and driving innovation in Western Sydney. So just a very quick overview of what we do at Launchpad. So the 4 things or 4 key areas of what we focus on at Launchpad can really be distilled into university research and commercialization support. So that's really helping our researchers with getting funding and getting their ideas up and running. We also do a lot of work around student entrepreneurship and training, and that's more with our current students and alumni. And then there's a startup incubation and acceleration piece, which you guys are going to hear a lot more about today. And that's really about helping, early stage startups and businesses, take their ideas, turn it into something that's incredible and support you on that commercialization journey. The other piece of what we do is also in SME. So we work with a lot of established businesses as well, largely in the manufacturing space, to help them with transforming their traditional old school business with adopting innovation, technology, and support them with research and development. So a lot of the work that we do is really around translation and commercialization, knowledge and skills building, and that's both in the startup space as well as the student space. And also collaboration and transformation of the region. And you'll find when you do, enter the incubator or work in any of these areas that you work, it's not just one stream of activity. You do get that cross-pollination across, working with students or maybe working with researchers and maybe also learning from established SMEs. So it's really about building a Western Sydney innovation ecosystem. So just a quick as an example of what we've been able to achieve to date. So over the last 5 or so years of being around, we've made a significant shift to the Western Sydney economy. We work with on average 200 companies every year and incubated 188 new startups. We've also managed to support these startups into gaining over $30 million in revenue and raising over $50 million in capital as well. Of key importance is the level of new jobs created in this space. We've calculated over 320 new jobs created in high-tech areas such as AI, machine learning, data science, and this is really making a real impact to the makeup and sophistication of the labour market in our region. So you've heard an intro from me. Today, you'll also get to hear from Jamie Pride, our Chief Entrepreneur in Residence, and Jonathon Wolfe, our other entrepreneur in residence. And these, the 2 of them are really the pillars of the program. They've designed it all. And as a startup going through our programs, you get to work really closely with them as your mentors. And just quickly on key dates, and very happy to share these slides afterwards as well. Just in terms of the program that we're running and talking about today, which is kicking off in March. We're doing different rounds of offers. So there is a huge advantage of getting your application in early. Our first round of offer will happen on the 10th of December. So, please submit an application after this information session, and then we'll do a second round, 8th of Feb, with official applications close 11th of February next year, and then our final round of offer on the 18th of February. We're running 2 information sessions, so this is one of them. The second one will be run on the 2nd of Feb, and we're hoping to do that in person in our new space, and you'll hear from different alumni groups that have just gone through the program. We're also running a pre-accelerator experience, so that's kind of a taster of the 3-month program, and Jamie's going to talk a little bit more about that. The official start date of this Ignition Accelerator is happening on the 2nd of March 2022, with it ending with a showcase event on the 3rd of June. So that's it from me. I hope you get to hear from the mentors and also the alumni today, and get all your questions in. I'll hand it over to Jamie now to talk about the program.
Thanks, Beck, and welcome everybody. So glad you could join us here today for our first informational session at Launchpad. As Beck said, my name's Jamie Pride. I've been an entrepreneur in residence here at Launchpad for a few years. In terms of a background, my background is quite heavily on both sides of the entrepreneurial fence. So I've started and founded 6 startups, some of them more successful than others, and I've spent a fair bit of time in venture capital. So we like to think, along with Jonathon, who I'll ask him to introduce himself in a moment, we like to think that we bring a lot of practical experience to the course, both as having sort of been in the trenches ourselves and has sort of faced the daily struggles that entrepreneurs face, but also have, I guess, a bit of an ecosystem and a broader venture perspective as well. And my kind of areas of expertise is I really focus in that sort of business to business SaaS space. So I really like sort of technology software companies, but also in sort of B2B software technology as well. Jonathon, do you want to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jamie. So my name's Jonathon Wolfe. I'm one of the entrepreneurs in residence at the Ignition program. And my background is in the commercialization of high-tech ventures and intellectual property. I've been involved, similar to Jamie, in 6 different startups. But I think I've counted up about 30 different organizations that I've been involved in founding, or from not-for-profits to social impact businesses to high-tech ventures that address particular needs in industries that we've addressed that issue too. So I've taken information or intellectual property out of universities. I've bootstrapped a bunch of businesses in the high-tech software development, web development, app development area, and I've built a number of hardware and software development products over that period. So that experience is what I bring, and Jamie and I have through very different channels developed a very similar philosophy as to the rigor of how to build and plan to build a very market-focused, problem-focused business that has a high chance of success. And we help, and that much of that is a bespoke journey for each potential product or potential company. So we love working with founders. We enjoy the process. We like to support you guys and deliver the experiences and try to help you maybe anticipate some of the mistakes or learn from the mistakes that Jamie and I have made in our journey over the last 20, 30 years, operating and running companies, growing them, closing them down, selling them, or being involved in all different shades and different types of business relationships that are focused on the market and focused on problem solving. So that's me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jonathon. So I'm going to start with a few slides, and then I would love to make this an interactive session. So if you do have any questions about the program, don't be shy, throw them in the chat and we'll get to them as we go along. So Beck, is my screen showing? Great, fantastic. So I want to start with our purpose. And for me, I think that at Launchpad, we are different. We know that you have many choices as entrepreneurs and founders in terms of programs that you can go into. And there are a number of, I think, of very different programs that offer different value propositions to entrepreneurs, both in Sydney and broadly in Australia and the world. For us, I would say that at our core, we're very much around what I would say is sustainability, and not in the environmental sense, but more in the resiliency sense. For us, our purpose is really around, three key stakeholder groups. Firstly, you as a founder, and I would say we care more about you as a founder than we do about your startup particularly. I think one of the things that me and Jonathon have learned over the course of our career is that your startups will come and go. And if you do feel that you want to take an entrepreneurial career for life, then we want to really make sure that you're resilient enough to deal with the ups and downs of the roller coaster that is the entrepreneurial journey. And so whilst we work with you and a startup during the course and during the program, we are focused on accelerating the commercial aspects of your business, but also we have an equal amount of focus on making sure that you're equipped with the skills and capabilities required to be successful as a founder beyond this startup. The second one is, I think we've got a very holistic view with regards to sustainability in business as well. So we're really around helping you to create businesses that deliver real value to both the society that you live in, but also to your shareholders. So we're really around sort of creating businesses that generate real revenue and real value for their stakeholder groups, rather than sort of fly by night, kind of fake businesses that require tons of venture capital in order to survive. So we're really around sort of long-term profitability and value creation in the way that we approach your business. And for us, we really achieve our mission really through the lens of, first and foremost, founder care. Secondly, we believe that the entrepreneurial and commercialization process is more science than art. So we take a fairly structured and rigorous approach to commercial acceleration. And then we kind of sprinkle in, as Jonathon said, I guess our practical experience and the experience of the other experts in residence who are part of the program. I think we have 6 core focus areas that I think deliver value to people who participate in our programs. The first one I touched on, which is we've got a parallel program that we run in conjunction with the core acceleration material that focuses on founder care, and really making sure that not only are you getting the technical skills, but you're also getting the resiliency skills to be able to sort of deal with pressure, anxiety, managing complex relationships, which we think is a broader part of the overall entrepreneurial journey. I think between myself and Jonathon, we added up, probably 60 years plus of entrepreneurial experience, a lot of failures, but also some successes. And I guess we've got that sort of, I think, a realistic view on what it takes to be successful in the Australian market, but also more broadly into Asia and globally. One thing I think that makes us unique is we are a completely part-time program. So our program is designed to be very, very flexible and agile. So we would say that you don't need to quit your day job like other programs. So you can continue on generally working full time and participating in this program if you're willing to commit to some of the key dates and delivery activities that I'll speak about later. We've got, I guess, one of the advantages of being a really growing university is we've got access to a lot of technology and a lot of resources, both physical resources by the way of makerspaces, 3D prototyping environments. We've got a new campus in Parramatta that's got an amazing basement full of a lot of toys and other tools, many of which I don't even understand what they do. But if you're into hardware and hardware construction and prototyping, I think you'll find something in there that would be really worthy of your attention. But we've also got access to a really broad and rich research ecosystem inside the university and students who are really interested in participating in our programs in a variety of roles. We have been running, as Beck said, for many years, and as a result of that, we've built a really strong alignment with some industry partners. And if there's an opportunity for us to introduce you, if it's relevant, to our industry partners as part of a program, we will do that. But I think more importantly, and we're going to demonstrate that a bit today, is we've got a strong alumni network. So part of joining Launchpad is not really participation in a 12-week program. It's more about a place where you can call home, both physically in some of our working spaces, but also really we try and drive a very strong connection in our cohorts, because we think that sometimes the entrepreneurial journey can seem lonely. And so making sure that you've got a group of like-minded people who you can kind of share that experience with as you progress, we feel is a really valuable thing that we add to our programs. So to give you a bit of an overview, first and foremost, as you probably may or may not have worked out, we really like hokey metaphors that go with space. But you know what? Why not? So we like to have a bit of fun. So it may give you a bit of an insight as to the fact that we don't take ourselves too seriously. But we really have 3 core acceleration programs that I'm going to speak to you about today. The first one is a very short pre-accelerator program that we call Preflight, which is a 2-day full-time experience. Then the program that I'm going to talk the most with you about today is our core early stage accelerator program, or a startup accelerator program, which we refer to as Ignition. And then later on in 2022, we're going to be running for the first time a ScaleUp program for more mature businesses that have a minimum viable product and have customer traction, which we refer to as Booster. I mentioned earlier that we have a flexible program, and for me, I think this is one of the things that we have really focused on, both firstly, during COVID, but I think more broadly, we want to democratize access to entrepreneurial education. So a typical week would really look like 3 core events. So on a Monday afternoon, we typically do a 1-hour group mentoring and coaching session, where we review last week's homework. There's an opportunity for us to go into breakout groups, and we really set the intention for the week, sort of having an ability to reflect on what you're currently stuck on, and then also sort of looking at how you prepare for the week ahead. The second major day is Wednesday, Lunch and Learns. So we do the bulk of our curriculum delivery reverse classroom. So we have some online assets and we're continuing to enhance our online capability. But Wednesday is where we come together to really do the bulk of the learning for the week. And then lastly, on a Friday morning, we have a founder circle or a founder development breakfast, which is focused specifically on growing those founder capabilities from a resiliency and sustainability standpoint that I spoke about earlier, and I'll take you through that curriculum. Sprinkled in between that is an ability to have one-to-one mentoring. And that's a fairly scarce resource, and so we treat it quite respectfully. Both myself and Jonathon make ourselves available for one-to-one activities, and then we've got a cohort of experts in residence who are also going to be making themselves available next year. You book that in on a time and an availability basis. That's probably one of the most valuable parts of the program. So an ability for you to work very closely with somebody who's very experienced and work on your specific issues. We try and keep that very much on focus and certainly with regards to what we're trying to achieve that week. But that's time that I think is really sort of valuable and unique to our program specifically, just in terms of the quality, caliber, and capacity of the mentors that we have. Every month, it's a 12-week program. Both of our programs are 12 weeks. We look at 3 monthly get-togethers. So all of this delivery that I spoke about on the weekly delivery is delivered remotely. So you can be typically via Zoom, and we use a number of other technologies, but we don't care where you are We deliver that, that information remotely, but we do find it advantageous to get together on a monthly basis. And so during the course of the program, there'll be 3 monthly get-togethers, which typically run for about half a day, where we can really sort of, one, you can kind of get to meet your fellow cohort and entrepreneurs face-to-face. We're going to do it in our new building in Parramatta in Hassel Street, which is a really cool location. But it's an ability for you to get face-to-face with your other colleagues, but also it's an opportunity for us to really drill down on a particular topic, bring in a guest speaker, do some activities, have a bit of lunch. And we find that those sort of 3 monthly get-togethers really help to accelerate, 1, your business, but 2, your relationships with other people in the program. And then lastly, we have a showcase or a demo day. We're sort of working through what that's going to look like in terms of the new Ignition program this year, but there'll be an opportunity for you to present out, your completed work at the end of the program. In terms of the core programs, we will be running Preflight in January. And I think, what do we say, Beck? It's 24th and 25th of January. It's good to see my memory is right. That is a 2-day full-time pre-accelerator where we focus on people who are in very early stage. So if you've just got an idea, or you want a taste of what it's like, so you're not quite sure whether you want to jump in, Preflight is the program you'd want to start with. So we talk a little bit about, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur and base entrepreneurial capabilities, but we focus on that ideation phase. So help you to explore, the knowledge that you have, evaluate options that you might be considering, and then sort of work through to selecting that out, go through some exercises where you can really explore whether or not that's something you'd want to invest 12 weeks in and go into one of our Ignition programs. So it's a little bit of an appetizer, but also it helps to focus you, especially if you're in that ideate phase and you're not sure either what you want to work on or if this is something for you. So that's that 2-day experience that myself and Jonathon run. It's going to be in Parramatta in our new campus, where we kind of accelerate you through a very short version of what you'd experience over that sort of longer 12-week time frame. Our main headline program next year, which has had a really significant overhaul in the way that the program will be delivered, is Ignition. It is really focused in designing and validating your startup. It's about 60 hours over 12 weeks, and it starts on the 2nd of March, running through to May. The entry criteria or the prerequisite is either you've attended the Preflight program or you complete an application form and you've got a defined idea. So you've got to really, to get value out of that program, you need to come to the program knowing something that you're going to work on, which we find is going to be really useful. So this program for us is 12 weeks. It's all new in terms of its approach this year. And I'll just sort of walk you through typically what that 12 weeks is going to look like. We start, the red boxes are face-to-face. So these are the monthly sessions. So in week 1, we have an all hands get together where we're really focusing on helping you to craft ad lib value proposition statements. So really focus on what problem are you solving and who are you solving it for. We then go through a 3-week cycle of working on value propositions. So really understanding who is your customer, what value are you going to be delivering that customer, and what makes you different. Talking about your business model. So how are you going to make money? How are you going to reach your customers? And then we go out and work out how we're going to validate that. We're of the strong opinion that one of the most essential elements of startup acceleration is getting data that validates the problem and the solution. And so we have a real emphasis on getting out of the building and meeting potential customers and interviewing them. We equip you with the skills to be able to conduct those interviews. But in week 5, we're introducing a full week where you're going out and running experiments and questions with your prospective target customer. And then we bring that data back in week 6 and we synthesize it and we use that data to refine your value proposition and business model. So it's really about sort of testing and learning and getting through that iteration cycle and getting used to going out and meeting customers and asking them structured questions to either prove or disprove assumptions that you've made about parts of your business. We go out again in week 7 to speak to customers. So a second round of customer interviews, and we have this sort of experimental mindset. So designing experiments that de-risk the assumptions that you're making. So you might, for example, make an assumption around price, or you may make an assumption around that it's a big enough problem that customers care about it. So how do we structure questions and experiments so we can go out and again validate that? After week 7, we start building prototypes. And this will be an opportunity, depending on the nature of your business, to start to bring into reality the idea or service that you're currently considering offering. You know, we'll do paper prototyping, we'll do what we refer to as wireframes or clickable prototypes, but it's an opportunity for you to create a simulation or a mock-up of the product or service that you're considering bringing to market. And then in week 10, we get you to go and take that simulation or that mock-up of your product and take it out to your customers again and get more feedback. So if you haven't kind of been picking up, we're very much around sort of design, go out and speak to real customers, synthesize that feedback, and then iterate. And we do that sort of through 3 cycles. And at the end of the program, we start to talk to you about how to develop software. So we really start to think about all of the options that you have. So if you're a non-technical founder, you know, you're going to be equipped with, I guess, some of the knowledge around, you know, how do you deal with outsourced software developers? You know, should you buy or build your product? How do you deal with a technical co-founder? You know, what are some of these new technologies that you could use around sort of no code or low code? But we really want to get you into a position whereby at the end of 12 weeks, if you've successfully gone through the program, every step of the way, you will be in a position to build your minimum viable product, which is a concept of sort of a first phase of a product build, with enough confidence that you've got sufficient customer data or support before you start building. So the idea is really to go to that minimum viable product or the technology build phase with a lot of supporting data and a minimum amount of assumptions and hypotheses. I'll just pause there quickly. I know I haven't rehearsed this, but Jonathon, did you want to chime in with anything that I've missed? You're on mute.
I've just been watching the questions come in, Jamie. I think that people need to just take the concept that what we're trying to do here is allow you to do a low risk, low cost development cycle that is rapidly iterative and gives you the opportunity to validate whether what your idea or your expression is, will it meet the market and will it be a business that's viable? So there was a question that came through from Amanda, as it said, I won't be able to build an MVP or because it's a video game. Well, that's exactly the sort of question that we can get into. I wouldn't accept that as a proposition, Amanda. I think we can very much build an MVP or a prototype that will allow you to explore the key attributes of what your game will do and validate whether that's something that the market will buy. It's exactly what you're an ideal customer for us because you've got a challenge. You probably need some technical support and understanding about how to represent your concept and idea to the customer, get the feedback very rapidly and validate that your idea is worth pursuing. So it's a really condensed program, highly accelerated to get you to that point that says, yes, I'm now willing and I have the evidence and confidence to now start investing money and time into the next phase of development. So I think that's what we're looking for.
Fantastic. And I will get to some of the other questions as we kind of go through as well, but thanks for picking that up, Jonathon. So look, I'm cognizant of time, so I want to just quickly cover off 2 things. So probably not as hugely relevant for this audience, but just to make you aware, we're running a second program next year in the second half from August to October, which is a ScaleUp Accelerator. This will be the first time that we run a program that's focused specifically at people that have product in market. So the minimum entry criteria for that program is that you have a minimum viable product. So you have something that's built, because to get full advantage out of that program, we need to be able to run experiments with live customers, or potentially look at how do we acquire your first few customers. So this is with people who have validated technology built. If you have technology built now and it's unvalidated, still apply, because we'd probably look at potentially whether or not it's worthwhile you going into the Ignition program and essentially taking a few steps backwards in order to validate out even some of the technology that you've got built today. We often find that some people get out of sequence and they might build technology early. So there's an advantage, still an advantage. Don't discount yourself from the Ignition program just because you've got a minimum viable product. We'd want to have a look at and have a discussion with you about sort of how much traction you have, and whether or not you've got product market fit. But so we've got a product, we've got essentially a program that's right for you, depending on where you are at the stage of your journey. And the reason why we have two programs is that we want you to be with people who are roughly around the same stage of maturity as you on the startup curve. So what we find is, and we've got very big blended programs, people get frustrated. So if you're much further along than other people, then you don't really want to go over all the basic questions, and that becomes frustrating. At the same time, if you're just starting out your startup journey, then a lot of the more advanced, and sort of customer facing conversations, tend to not be relevant for you. So one of the things we've done in 2022 is to break those two, to break all of our cohorts into two, and really to stream them based on sort of where they are, based on their immediate needs. So I won't go through the booster program in detail, but to give you an idea of how different it is, it's focused much more on metrics and pricing and go-to-market strategies, talking about growth hacking, product development strategies, team HR, leadership, boards, and some advanced capital raising. So it's a very much a different focused program, and it's deployed and delivered differently, and much more sort of relevant information for people who've got, a product in market, but they want to sort of get to that product market fit a little bit more quickly. Now, I spoke briefly about our founder development program. This is what happens on Friday mornings, and the focus that we put on, to give you a sort of a flavor in terms of sort of the things that we think augment really solid commercial acceleration. So that's really around, first and foremost, founders being able to take care of themselves, with a self-care mindset, establishing peer support, and really looking at how do you create a support network, how do you manage your energy and your time as a founder, how do you deal with rejection and anxiety and stress. I speak to a lot of founders who have trouble sleeping, and how do they deal with insomnia, and also, as we start to add people to your business, whether it be co-founders, board members, investors, how do you start to deal with differences in opinions and conflict. So we're trying to provide, I guess, a different perspective, more than just, this is the steps you need to take your idea from point A to point B. We know that a very large part of the entrepreneurial experience is not those technical aspects. It's very much around riding the emotional roller coaster of the ups and downs and the frustrations and the rejection and the why won't people just give me money, and my co-founder is annoying me to death. All of those things, we think are a normal part of the entrepreneurial journey, but a lot of people don't speak about them. So we really have got this sort of dual track strategy where we think we've got one of the best, if not the best, robust structure to sort of get you from point A to point B. So from your idea to being ready to develop software in the Ignition program, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you're enjoying that journey, right? And that, you're not going through an undue amount of sort of stress and anxiety, or if you are, that you know how to deal with it. So that was everything from me. I'm happy to pause briefly for questions. If you want to find out more information and or sign up, we are taking applications now, and we're reviewing them for early application. My suggestion is, if you're thinking, get in early, because I think we're going to be quite well subscribed next year. You can go to launchpadlive.com.au/accelerators to apply and to provide more, for us to provide some more information. On that note, I'll have a look at a couple of questions. Have I got a few minutes to answer questions, Beck?
I'm conscious of time. We might head to the panel, and feel free to just pop your questions in. If we don't get to them today,
I'll answer the questions in the chat as we're going as well. Yeah. Okay, over to you, Jonathan.
Okay, so one of the things that we know from our successful cohorts and programs we've run before is that the cohort and your co-founders are actually the place where you get one of the richest part of the experience of being part of something that we put on. So we provide the scaffolding and the content and all the resources, but a lot of the gold is learning from your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey and the things that they've done, the people that they know, and how best to leverage up the network that you're going to be part of, and part of the Launchpad family that's enduring. And so what we've invited 3 previous entrepreneur participants in last year's cohort to come back and talk to you just a little bit about their experience, what they got out of the program, and how we helped or supported them through their early stages of their business idea development. So you can get a taste of the kind of things, not from Jamie and I and Beck and the team, but from our customers and the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis through the program. So what I'm going to ask to do is just each of the 3 entrepreneurs. We've got Sandra from Yesterday's Stories, we've got Jamie from Newtopia, and we've got Michelle from EquiGI, just to talk to you, introduce themselves firstly, and then just to answer the question, why the hell are you an entrepreneur? What was that about? So I'll start with you, Jamie, and just introduce yourself and then answer that question, and then I'll move on to the next one.
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name's Jamie, and my company is Newtopia, and I created it really looking at being a teacher in the classroom at a university, just disengagement, and how to make it a more personalized experience. And the company's evolved a bit, and now we focus on alumni engagement or member engagement in industry associations. So any place that combines learning and community. And what was the second question?
So why are you an entrepreneur? What drives you to do this?
We were laughing before because I was like, you have to be crazy to want to be an entrepreneur. It's so challenging and so hard, but I think I kind of do thrive on uncertainty and the extreme sports version of life. A lot of my friends are like, you really like the extreme stuff. So I think I like the puzzle aspect, is trying to solve a puzzle, and I'm a very curious person. I think that's why I built a platform that I did. So I think the idea of being on a steep learning curve does excite me, although there's many times where I'm like, this is such a bad idea to have to grow that quickly. Like every component of entrepreneurship, it feels like you're getting a master's degree in each area. So yeah, a little bit from me.
Okay, Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell me, why are you an entrepreneur? What do you guys do?
Hi everyone, so I'm Michelle, and I have on there that I'm from Quantum Biosciences, because that's our core business. We joined the Accelerator program to grow, to more quickly grow one of our ideas, which is called EquiGI. And why am I an entrepreneur? I would say I never really pictured myself as an entrepreneur, but Quantum Biosciences has been a business for 5 years. We're a group of scientists who thought we could do our science in a different environment to the framework that we come from, which was universities and CSIRO. So that, in a way, makes us entrepreneurs, because we've gone and done it and built it for ourselves, our research business. And yeah, I think I never would have thought, I'm not like Jamie in that I don't have such an exciting life or from that point of view, but I now consider myself an entrepreneur, having gone through the program and seeing that what we are doing is entrepreneurial, and yeah, I do see myself more in that space now, having done the program.
Cool, thank you. And Sandra, just introduce yourself, your business, and why are you an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sandra Perez from Yesterday's Stories, and we've launched a platform that enables you to see the video histories in location when you walk through community. I thought I was an entrepreneur, but I wasn't. I run a business, a service business for something like 20 years, but with this new platform, being an entrepreneur is, I just love the thrill and the challenge of winning and falling on my decisions. I don't want to work for anyone else. I like the fact that there's, there's always a thinking and strategy around how you're going to squash your competitors and and the fear of being overtaken. And it's thrilling and stressful at the same time. That it's an exciting space to be in at the moment.
Okay, so Sandra, while I've got you, the inspiration for yesterday's stories, what was that, and how have you sort of progressed it? You had an idea. How did you move it through to actually turning that into even the potential for a business?
Yeah, probably a strange. I'm probably more of a strange kind of entry into this into doing something like this. But I'm a history documentary filmmaker, and I saw the power of film and was commissioned to do a lot of short films. And I'd see those films and they're on the website, or the clients commission them and then they disappear. And it was kind of authentically grown from my work in trying to reach my audience, especially with history, having that in location where history happens. So it was a solution for me, really, to start with. And then it was something that I could see that, it's a solution that a lot of people are looking for. So museums and tourism, and speaking to a lot of those potential clients and coming up to where I am now after this program, the Launchpad, it's all about product market fit. And I certainly feel that this program helped me to get much closer to that. And some of the features we're rolling out at the moment very much have come off the back of Launchpad. But yes, getting an MVP out was the first thing, and getting early traction in terms of people wanting to be a part of it. But, the idea was there something like 8 years ago. So, it's a long process for me, but it's been great.
Yeah, so that's something that we definitely look for in the people that we like to have involved in the program, is that authentic connection to the problem. So it's not just a market research driven thing. It's something that you've experienced or seen something in your own work or life and know that it's a real need, and you need to go out there and validate that it's actually a business. So Michelle, what was the genesis for EquiGI, and how did you kind of go from that inspiration through to potentially building a business around that?
Yeah, so we're a group of microbiologists. We have worked all of our careers really closely with small and medium and even large size businesses. But there's been some developments in the technology space, specifically in our discipline in microbiology, that we thought was being missed by different industries. And for us, one of those was actually putting the science of some of the microbiology into the hands of consumers. So we've got access, or we've developed a technology platform that we can use in a number of different businesses. But for EquiGI, it was really about giving horse owners an opportunity to understand more about the health of their horse by investigating the microbiome. So people are hearing more about microbiome science for human health. Well, it's just as applicable in other animals, and indeed even in soil health. So EquiGI for us, we've been working on this idea for more than 5 years. In EquiGI, we had put some time into a research student doing a PhD in horse health. And so we knew that having talked to horse owners, there was a real need for them. They're large animals, they're expensive to maintain, but people have a really great connection with their animals, whether they're for pleasure animals and just their ponies for their kids, or if they're for eventing and showing. So we really felt we had a product that could fit that market. But of course, we had to go and validate our ideas as well about what we thought we would be offering for that market. And that's what this program has really helped us to do, is to really challenge ourselves around what was the problem we think we're solving for our market, and actually going back and investigating that with the rigor that the program gave us. We are scientists, so we think we know how to do an experiment, but doing it in this space was a little different.
Yeah, great. And Jamie, sounds like the other two, you've had a long-term connection to this problem that you're addressing, and it's evolved and pivoted along the way. That how do you know when to pivot, and how do you know when's the right time to think about addressing the market in a different way?
I think it came from being in the market, and I learned quite a bit. When I created the product, I didn't know that much about sales and marketing, but especially the sales bit So I started to realize, we have a great product, but then you also are competing against much larger companies, and there's contracts in place and sales cycles. And so there was a lot of learning around that, and realizing you might have a great product, but then there's all these other places that you have to win at or be innovative in. So you might be innovative in the way sales happens, or the pricing, or the business model. So as I started to get aware of that, and also different people that joined the company, and we just started looking at how could our products be used in a different area of the learning provider's business. So moving from classroom to alumni, so a different part of the learner's journey or the business cycle. And it just became apparent doing market research on the competitors that maybe we can win more there as an entry point. So yeah, so a bit of market assessment, bit of learning over a couple of years about the sales aspect of the business. Yeah.
Jamie, just to continue on that thought, your experience with the program last year, was a little bit different, and it was sort of covered the full gamut of what we now call Ignition and Booster. But
yep.
What was it that drew you to the program, and what surprised you when you got involved in the program last year?
What drew me to it was in the interview process, the quality of the questions posed, the quality of you and Jamie as mentors, just having a lot of years of actual experience. So it wasn't theoretical, it was quite like real experience. So that was impressive. And then I think in the program, maybe it wasn't surprising, because I was counting on that it would be very high quality mentorship, and also the curation of the master classes was all top people. So got tons of value from people that came in and spoke about sales, spoke about marketing, spoke about accounting, even some of the aspects of like the foundations of the business as a business, and not just around the product, that there's all the other aspects that have to work as well. And then I guess applicable to ours, building out those other aspects of the business, solidifying, even, just getting things like the employee share option plan in place, and the accounting functions, learning all that, and being able to speak to really good guest speakers about those components and make sure that they were done properly, and the rigor was there. That'll help with the integrity of the business. And then I guess towards the end, a lot of coaching on the pitching, investigating, is the narrative working? Why is it landing or not landing? And that's still evolving. And then assistance in thinking about, we did a lot of work ourselves on the outreach for investment, but getting a lot of mentorship and guidance on that process as well. I think I learned quite a bit to I kind of moved from being quite naive to understanding and deciphering what are the investors we're talking to actually saying, and that's a common pattern. So I think a lot of this is speeding up the pattern recognition, that if I don't have 30 years of experience and I only have 2, or even this year being 1 year of pattern recognition of investor conversation, getting help from people that have a lot more years to decipher what's coming back and realize, that's really common, or that's what you would expect, or this is what they mean. That was extremely, and has been really, really helpful.
Okay. Michelle, again, I'd be interested to know what drew you guys to the program. As you say, you're scientists, you have existing business. What was it that you were thinking you were going to get out of the program, and what surprised you when you actually arrived?
I think for us, it was the structure of the program, the detail of the content that we had heard about, definitely the access to mentors, and the sense of we already had a sense that we would be involved in a community. So the founder group as well, I think, was really drew us, and particularly for us, we were really interested in working in Western Sydney. Our business is based here, and the access to the resources of Western Sydney Uni were really appealing for us. What surprised me going in was I was really naive. My co-founder had certainly done more research on other accelerator programs, so I didn't have that in my mind to compare to. But for me, just the rigor of the program and the structure of it that really pushed you through each stage to really evaluate, even if you thought you were here in the state, in the spectrum or the cycle, you know, really go back and just double check what assumptions you had made and test them. And so that idea of the experimenting with your business and experimenting with your ideas has really resonated with me, and was something that was challenging for me to do those customer interviews. And, you know, we thought we had a solution to a problem, but maybe we should ask our market, do they really have that problem? And actually in doing that, which was personally challenging for me to go out and make those cold call conversations, a lot of them were, we actually found, one, that we had a product that really did resonate with people, and two, we uncovered other problems that we could also solve. So in a sense, we were doubly validated. So I think that's all been part of the journey. And then also for me, the other surprising thing is that just the genuine sense of community amongst the founder alumni that we are now has been great support, and it's really shifted me from being fairly hesitant about the whole process to having a lot more confidence and in my abilities, and then also in the whole space, understanding that more.
Awesome, thank you. Sandra, same for you. You were in Wollongong, which is not nearby, so that was obviously a big decision for you to decide to join a program in Western Sydney. But the virtual program seemed to work for you, and the fact that you're running a full-time business already. How did that work out, and what drew you to the program, or even considering something that was geographically remote from you?
I think I like the fact that it was over 6 months. I think a lot of accelerators are really quick, or they're 8 weeks, or they're done. Ours is probably different to the one you're doing, but just the topics and the number of topics. But the thing that worked in the end, I think, is really the sense of, and I was talking to Michelle about this earlier, just that we could fail our business, but that's okay. Like, we're going to be entrepreneurs for life, and that's what this program set us up for. You could fail or whatever, but it is no big deal. It doesn't define you. I mean, I think that was pretty much put into us. And Jamie saying, a no is one step closer to a yes, that kind of thing that you really have to think about, and you have to really integrate being an entrepreneur and understanding that, you're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to be mucked around a bit, but the founder support from both Jonathon and Jamie and the group has been fantastic.
Okay, I think we're getting to the end. I'll throw it back to Jamie and Beck now, just to provide opportunity to talk about some of the questions you've got from the audience. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time and providing your honest feedback. I think it's great to hear from you, and hopefully we'll get together soon and have a beer.
Great, thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Beck, did you want to close things out at this stage? I think we've covered most of the questions, except the last question I haven't think we've answered is application feedback. Did you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So Sebastian, for round one, with offers being made next Friday, we're going to get back to everybody next week with feedback on application. And, that's also the benefit of getting your application in early, is that you can receive feedback and apply again with the feedback that you get. So you'll hear from us next week. We've got a couple of minutes. Is there any, I think Jamie's done a great job at answering all the questions in the chat, but is there any that we may have missed or you haven't put in the chat that you want to just come off mute and ask it now before we wrap up? Any last words from Jamie, Jonathon, or the alumni before we close?
No, nothing from me, except we'd love to definitely submit your application. If you're on the fence, there's no harm in applying, and we will certainly give you some feedback, which is valuable. Part of this is about taking a risk and making a commitment. But I think one of the things that's unique about our program is that we don't demand that you have to push all in, so you can still kind of use this as a experiment yourself, in terms of if this is something you're thinking about doing. Then either come along to the 2-day pre-flight program, where you can kind of really have an accelerated experience to say, is this for me? Is this not for me? Is this a good idea? But if you're further along than that, then, you know, we feel that it's a program that kind of balances things out, right? So it certainly balances the time commitment that you've got to make, but also, you know, we think we balance out a really holistic experience. So I really love I'm really looking forward to, I guess, our program in 2022. As you kind of figure, we love what we do here. And, you know, for us, we're probably one of the first, you know, free and open university accelerator programs. You know, so, you know, it's something that we're kind of proud of. Jonathon, anything for you?
Yeah, Jamie, you actually had exactly the same message I want to deliver, that, you know, we really like what we do. We enjoy it. We really get a kick out of helping the entrepreneurs validate their ideas and bring them to fruition, or validate them out. You know, that's not a bad outcome. If you go through this project or go through the process and you find that there isn't a market need, well, hey, we might have solved you a long period of agony trying to get something to market that was never going to make money. But we will equip you to become the entrepreneur to come up with the next idea and the next process. So that's really what we're focused on, helping you find a way to be an entrepreneur and build a great business. And there's no greater satisfaction for us in helping see our founders grow and find their purpose, and allows them to fill out and act out their dream. So that's what we're about, and we love it. It's great fun. So thank you.
And lastly, I mean, just to step back a little bit, you know, we're all about building a community in Western Sydney of innovators, entrepreneurs. So, you know, we see programs as just a really efficient way to bring people into a similar stage or industry together to go through that. So it's really just a pathway to get into the community. And as you can see, the alumni, they're still around with us, even though they've finished the program. So yeah, if you're not sure whether the program criteria is fit for you or not, just put your application in, and, you know, we'll feed you into an earlier stage program, a later stage program. We'll just work with you, you know, outside of programs. We're very, very flexible. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing your applications. If you submit it as soon as you can, you will hear from us next week as we're doing our first round of offers. Yeah, have a great afternoon and hope to see your applications come through.